자꾸 약해지잖아.
Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. I'm going to be reviewing the new ColourPop 5-pan palettes. They did send all 5 palettes to me in PR. Just want to let you guys know that before we even got started. But today's video I know is going to be so long because we're going to dive deep into each individual palette. I did a look for each palette. I have comparisons for each palette. Everything you need to know about these 5-pan palettes I'm going to share today. I will leave timestamps if you want to skip to a certain palette. You can just put your mouse over the timeline and it will tell you which section is which. So if that's helpful and you just want to skip ahead, by all means. But if you want to watch the entire thing, grab a snack, it's gonna be a long one, and let's go ahead and get started. Before we jump into the individual palette reviews, I do just want to give my overall thoughts and it's sort of like a rundown on these new 5-pan palettes. So they came out with 5 different little 5-pan palettes, all with different color stories, and these are $10 US each. And when I saw the price tag, I was a little bit surprised just because their 9 pans is $12 or $14. So the $12 one are the ones that come in the plastic packaging and the $14 is the cardboard packaging. You pretty much can just pay $2 more and get 4 more shadows. And personally, I just find the 9 pans to have more value to them. I thought they were gonna be probably like $8. I'm not saying the palette is pricey, but if you just compare it to their other palette formations and how much they cost, this one is I guess more on the higher side, but it is still affordable because it's ColourPop. You guys get what I mean. Another first impressions that I got when I saw these palettes is the color stories. The color stories are very dupeable, you could say, but I really do see ColourPop releasing more mini palettes this year. I feel like mini palettes definitely has been a thing, and I definitely see them releasing more color stories, and hopefully in the future they will be a little bit more unique, because definitely these 5 weren't anything special into my collection. I do have a big collection, but I do think these are just pretty standard, but I get why the first initial launch, I'm sure they wanted to create mini 5 pans that were great for daily wear, and I totally get that. I guess those were just my first impressions. And another thing to note about these palettes is that 2 out of the 5 palettes does have 1 pressed glitter in each, and of course I will talk about that when we get there, but I just want to let you guys know because I know pressed glitter is a big concern to a lot of people. And I do want to note that all of the looks that I created, I did do the same techniques for each palette. I just wanted to see if I was able to create my everyday glam technique with the palettes and the 5 shadows. So if you're expecting, you know, unique different technique looks, not this video, maybe my next one. But yeah, with that being said, let's hop into the first palette and let's start off with the palette that I am currently wearing, and that palette is Lyric. And in Lyric you will receive 2 matte, 2 metallics, and 1 pressed glitter. ColourPop's description for this palette is rich golds and bronze. As for my comparisons, I'm only going to be doing palette comparisons since I am reviewing 5 palettes in this video. I think doing shade by shade comparisons would take way too long, so I hope you guys can understand for the palette comparisons that I'm going to share. There are a lot of palettes from ColourPop that are quite similar, but the ones that I want to show you today is actually Boudoir Noir, which is a really recent palette they released. I think there are some comparable shades in here. And then I also have Brown Sugar, which is a discontinued palette, and I would say these are probably the most comparable with the undertones. I do think out of the 5 palettes, this one does run quite deep, so if you do have a deeper skin tone, then I think this one would work really nice for you as like a everyday type of palette. But do keep in mind it does have that pressed glitter in there as well. And the reason why I said this one runs pretty deep because there are only 2 mattes, and out of the 2 mattes, the lighter one, I would consider this one to be more on the medium side. You can definitely work it as a transition, but you gotta take a little bit of it and just blend it out a little bit more, especially if you're my skin tone or lighter. And then the other matte is a very deep chocolate brown, so that's why I'm saying this one is going to be a little bit deeper and darker. I did think all of the shadows did perform really well. I didn't have any issues with that. And the next palette is called Ballad, and this will come with 1 matte and 2 sequins and 2 metallics. ColourPop's description for this palette is cool gunmetal shadows. And you guys, this palette literally is the Stone Cold palette. If you thought Stone Cold was too big, don't want a mega palette, you just only need a little bit of cool tone in your life, you just want to sprinkle, then Ballad is definitely for you. Even the Baroque palette I feel like is quite similar, but I do feel like Stone Cold is probably the more comparable palette, but Baroque I definitely do see some comparisons here as well. And I do think the selection in here is really nice. I think every shade works really well together. You get a transition, a medium and a dark, and 2 beautiful metallics, and that's what I really need. 1 metallic is darker, 1 metallic is lighter. I think the combination of this is amazing, but it's literally Stone Cold Fox. And the next palette we have is called Crush. There are 3 mattes, 1 sequins, and 1 metallic. ColourPop's description for this palette is rich copper, and for this palette, you guys, it literally is nude mood. If nude mood, I don't know, was too big, 9 pans is a little bit too much, then perhaps you would like Crush. But these shadows, you guys, the shadows is so similar. Like, it's kind of funny at this point how similar they are, honestly. I personally would just pay $4 more and get 4 extra shadows in Nude Mood, because Nude Mood, I ranked that as my 2nd place palette in 2020 that I tried from ColourPop, so it's a really loved palette. But I guess if you wanted something a little bit more compact, obviously these 5 pans are much more travel friendly, then of course you might want to opt for this one. But I think if you're just talking value for your money, I would still go for Nude Mood, because these shadows is like literally the same as Nude Mood. Like, I can't. But it's a really beautiful palette. I really did enjoy my look with this one. And the next palette is called Cherish. We have 2 mattes, 1 sequins, and 2 metallic. And ColourPop's description for this palette is rich cranberries and metallic rose. So for my comparison palette, I would probably say the most comparable one is actually their recent one, Wine and Only. I definitely see a couple comparisons here, but I would say the Wine and Only definitely does pull to the red wine side, and this one has more of like a pinkier sort of, yeah, cranberry undertone. And then my other comparison palette would have to be the Whatever. There's just a couple of shades that I find to be similar, but nothing, you know, too crazy. Whatever definitely does have more neutral shades in theirs. But with this palette, I think might have to be my favorite one out of the 5. I really enjoyed this. And again, with the previous 2 palettes, Ballad and Crush, this really does cover everything. You get a transition, and then you get a medium, and then you you get a like medium to dark, and then you get two metallics. You get a lighter sort of rose gold champagne type of shade, which you can use this to highlight your inner corners, and then the other metallic is more medium toned. So I feel like there's a good variety in here, and I think all 5 shades in here is really usable, and I think that's why I want to go so in depth with my review, because if you're gonna get a mini 5 pan, you want to be able to use every single shade to create a look. And the last palette we have is called Amor, and you will receive 2 mattes, 1 sequins, 1 metallic, and 1 pressed glitter. And ColourPop's description for this palette is plums and rich mauves. And for my comparison palettes, I of course have the Making Mauves. Making Mauves is one of my current favorite palettes right now. I absolutely adore it. I will say that Amor does pull a little bit more on the purpley side than the mauve side if we are comparing the 2 palettes. Making Mauves definitely has more of that muted tone, but because the shade Darling in Amor, it gives it more of like a pop of purple in here that's a little bit more vibrant. And then my other comparison would have to be Bye Bye Birdie. I would say Making Mauves is more of a better comparison, but because of that pop of purple, I decided to compare it to Bye Bye Birdie. But this is another palette that I did enjoy. I think again for the mattes you get the transition, the medium, and then the dark, and then you get like a really dark metallic. And I think if they took out the pressed glitter and added like a very light lilac highlighting shade, then this palette would be like a really solid purple palette. I know so many people love purple eyeshadow, and I think you would actually really like this one in my opinion. So that is pretty much my review on the new ColourPop 5-pan palettes. I really do hope you guys found this video helpful, seeing the looks, the comparisons. I know some of you guys might ask for shade by shade comparisons, and if you really do need it, you can always DM me on Instagram and just give me some time. But if you guys did find this review helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It does help my videos out a lot. And this video especially did take much longer to film and review since I was doing 5 looks. I don't film all my looks on the same day, by the way. I film them on different days. I don't know how people can film like 3 looks in one day, because I feel like the skin around my eyes will literally just burn and rip off, because that's just a lot. I want to be kind to my skin, and I do film them on different days, planning them. As you can see, every look had a different beret. That was all planned. It was part of my vision. So yeah, these types of videos do take a very long time for me to film, edit, plan, upload. So if you guys could give it a thumbs up, I truly would appreciate it. Or let me know what you guys think down below of these new 5 pans. Is there a 5-pan palette that you guys would want to see, like a color story? I think an olive one would be nice. Since their olive palette, the child palette, is a limited palette, it's a collab palette, I would love to see maybe a 5-pan olive palette. I would love that. I would love. But yeah, with that being said, that is going to complete today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!